What up, team? Welcome back to Big Boys once again. And I'm Johnny, your host. And today's show is gonna be anything goes. But firstly, I'd like to start with my continuation of promoting some New Zealand music. And today, we're going to be hearing a song from a band called Blind Spot. And this song is one of my favorites. It's about cherishing life, enjoying every day. And I think most of the boxers, if not all, who are sadly no longer with us, would agree with a lot of the words in the song. And it's also a little bit close to my heart. I recently had a sister-in-law pass away out of the blue, no health problems. It does happen. So without further ado, check this tune out.
Not one day that you are here has been promised to you.
Not one day that you are here on this earth has been promised to you. So make the most of every day as if it was your last, and every breath as if it was the same. We will never be the same. The same. Things will never be the same.
Not one day that you are here has been promised to you. So make the most of every day as if it was your last, and every breath as if it was the same.
Man, I love that quote. Not one day that you are here on this earth has been promised to you. So treat every day as if it was your last, and every breath as if it was the same. Just love it. Alright, so we're going to get into it. I'll get some sounds on in the background for us. We'll get the show on the roll. And technical difficulties. Awesome. Just a moment, y'all. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to get some links sent out to the regulars. And then I will drop a link in the chat for anybody else who might like to join. And as per usual, if that link don't work for you, you can always send me an email or a message on Hangouts in the via the email in the description, which is kiwiboxjono@gmail.com. So there's the link for anybody else who may like to join. This weekend was a little bit of a letdown for me for boxing. There wasn't a lot of competitive matches on, particularly with the heavyweights. What do we have? We had, what's his name, Flores. Can't even remember his first name. Got rid of what's his name, Mario Heredia in a few rounds. Was never going to be that competitive. We had Lucas Big Daddy Brown take on retired league player, rugby league player that is, and John Hapawari, the man who's famous for sticking his fingers up asses in rugby tackles. He got taken out in a few rounds as well, but that was never going to be competitive. And we also had Kubrat Pulev get a decision win over the walking punch bag in Rydell Booker. So yeah, nothing really to write home about this weekend for the heavyweights, and not a lot coming until we get that Wilder versus Ortiz rematch. I think that's on the 23rd of February, so that is what it is. But I guess the big talking point has got to be KSI versus Logan Paul. I watched it, and man, was that messy. I know they're not boxers, but both of them have been training as boxers for 8 months to get ready for this first real professional fight, and it was messy, man. It was messy. Only a 6-rounder too. I thought maybe they could have done 8 or 10 rounds, but it was pretty even in some respects, I thought, and KSI came away with a split decision win. However, he did get put down in the 4th round, I think it was. Big uppercut, but then the ill discipline of Logan Paul held him with his left hand and hit him on the back of the head with the right hand, and had 2 points taken off because of it. Then he complains that boxing is rigged when he doesn't get the decision. I mean, without that knockdown, it would have been very clear. And as it was, I think that round was called a 8-8 round anyway, because there was the knockdown that got scored, and there was 2 points taken off Logan Paul, so it was an 8-8 round. The rest of the fight was all pretty even. Logan Paul was using a jab, and KSI was lunging in with big wild hooks and overhand rights and landing every now and then. So Logan really doesn't have a lot to complain about, in my opinion. The jab was landing, but he wasn't landing a lot more clean, effective work. I thought KSI landed the bigger shots that did more damage. So it was a close fight, and I think a split decision is a fairly decent decision by the judges. But apparently Logan Paul's going to be appealing the decision. It's not going to get him anywhere. You could tell the ref in there too. He was having a hard time. It's like reffing to a match between two freaking young teenagers or something that don't really know what they're doing. It was pretty funny, I thought. But it is what it is. You know, a couple of YouTubers getting it on, and you know, they would have made a shitload of money. For a first professional fight, those guys have got to be damn near the top of the stack for earnings for the first professional fight. Isn't that some funny shit? But it brought a whole lot of people's attention to the sport of boxing, so I'm pleased about that. Just check my audio for a second here. Yeah, it's all good, sweet as. So yeah, that's pretty much that. What else happened over the weekend? What's his name? Devin Haney got the win. Struggled a bit. Many people saying Haney's exposed and he will never get to fight Loma if he's having a performance like that. I don't know, man. Styles make fights, and a lot of the time I think when fighters do have trouble with opposition, a lot of it's due to people not giving the opponent enough credit for what they are. Not everyone who fights a champion is going to be on the same level, but when they do make it competitive, the opponent needs credit. Not just say, oh, the champion's exposed. But we'll see how things go in future. Tommy is back. Good to see you. Kidman stuff, good to see you in, mate. Yeah, it was sad. Family, it's my brother's sister-in-law, 37 years old, no health problems, just didn't wake up one day. So it can happen, man. And like I said, cherish every day as if it was your last, and every breath as if it was the same. Because you never know, you may not wake up tomorrow. We have Tommy Temper in the house. How are you today, brother?
I'm good, Jono. How you doing, mate?
Not too bad at all, not too bad. How'd you enjoy the weekend's boxing, brother?
Well, I caught the replay on the KSI Logan Paul fight, and I'm not going to lie, I actually find it very entertaining.
It's almost like funny entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, it's like watching two amateurs off the street jump in a ring and get it on. So as a boxing fan, looking at the technical sides of things, you gotta laugh, but it was exciting. You know, a lot of people got dragged.
It was.
Yeah. Did you score it?
I quite I didn't score it round by round. I just did the eye test, and I kind of thought KSI did enough, just enough. But the knockdown itself of Logan Paul, did you manage to catch the replay on that?
Just when it was on live, and I watched it between rounds. You know, initially the ref said that he hit him on the ground, but I didn't think he was on the ground. It was more of a case of
no. I'm talking about when Logan Paul went down. The blonde hair guy.
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't scored a knockdown, and I couldn't figure out why.
Well, yeah, there was a shot in there, and his knees sort of buckled, and he sat down, then stood straight up, didn't he? So I don't know. I have to go back and watch it. Did his ass touch the canvas? I know his knees buckled down. Did he just squat down? Maybe, I don't know.
I think his knee touched it because he actually tried to rugby tackle KSI just to keep balance.
Interesting.
You know, as you say, your elbow, your knee touches the canvas, it's a knockdown.
Yeah, anything that's not your foot touches the ground, that's a knockdown. So, good point there. I'll have to go back and have a closer look at that, actually. But
you know what I quite liked about the fight? These two guys were quite limited in their talent, right? But the heart the heart that KSI showed really impressed me in that fight. And he actually looked gassed, but he looked like his heart was enough. He had so much heart, he could still drive himself, even though he was, very, very tired.
Yeah, definitely got a lot of heart. Got to give it to him for that. I mean, even both guys, they both wanted to win so badly, and it's a bit disappointing from Logan Paul about how sour he's being, and when a guy beats you, you got to take it like a man. The judges are there to do their job. They did their job. I thought it was pretty close, and I thought it was a fair decision. So, I didn't actually.
Well, I thought Logan Paul had the first match, even though it was a draw.
Yeah, I did too. I thought he had the first one. Basically, the jab won him for that one, and I thought it might be something similar in this one. And I also thought Logan Paul was going to knock him out, to be honest, due to KSI being 20 pounds heavier. I didn't think he'd have a gas tank. Paul's only 6 pounds heavier, and he seemed to be the better athlete the first time around, but I think, like you say, KSI won that with his heart pretty much. It certainly wasn't skill. So, kudos to him. And will we see a trilogy?
Yeah. I think so. It makes sense.
Well, it's made a shitload of dollars, so it's got to make sense then, doesn't it?
Was this pay-per-view the second one?
I think it was pay-per-view in the UK. It was on DAZN in America, so.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure it was pay-per-view on box office or something. And
yeah, if it's DAZN, it would be Sky in the UK.
Yeah. So that's what it is. But I wouldn't mind seeing a trilogy. But then if Logan Paul wins again, there's gonna be a fourth one, isn't there? So. Why not though? Why not? I thought it was pretty amazing that the amount of people that turned up not to watch anything else on the card, they wanted to watch that, and it's brought a lot of attention to the sport for people that aren't actually boxing fans. So it's got to be good for it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
of course it is. But I heard rumors that the casual fans, the ones that just turned up for Logan Paul KSI, were booing the other professionals. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but that's what I heard.
I watched some of the other card. I watched some of the Haney fight. I got a bit bored with that as well. But I didn't hear a lot.
Did that go 11 rounds?
I wasn't paying attention to it. Yeah, I think Haney stopped him in the 11th after dropping him 3 times. So
that's a good way to finish.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people saying Devin Haney's been exposed because the opponent gave him a lot more trouble than he was supposed to. But like I was saying earlier in the stream, I think a lot of people have to give the opponent more credit for when they step up to a level like that and make it somewhat competitive. Just because it's unexpected doesn't mean that the champion's crap.
Exactly.
So Haney moves on. His first defense of his title. I guess he's not really a paper champion now that he's made a mandatory defense. Or was it a
he's legitimized that belt.
Yeah, it needed legitimizing after being pretty much given it. So credit to him, and hopefully he can fight Loma down the track, and maybe we will have an undisputed champion, even though we have this franchise designation in the way. But we'll see what happens with that. Did you catch any other fights over the weekend, mate?
I didn't, unfortunately. Not. I'm still playing catch up.
Fair enough. Okay.
I really liked your energy when you were talking about boycotting the WBC. That was a quality video, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm down for it, eh? I'm sick of the shit that's happening with the WBC. They're making up their own rules. I don't know why they don't just burn their rule book. Because they don't follow their rules anyway.
Nah, they don't.
The interview that I watched with Rob from Boxing Social the other day with Mauricio Solomon showed how confused he is about what he's done. So
Is that the one where he contradicts himself in the same interview multiple times?
He contradicts himself so many times in that interview, you know. He talks about Devin Haney and Lomachenko are both champions, so either of them can be undisputed, but then, you know, two sentences beforehand he says, no, the franchise champion isn't a championship or a title. But then Rob asks him, who's the WBC champion? He says, Haney and Loma. So, which is it? You know?
Maybe you'd specifically ask them the question, who is the WBC world champion? Because if the franchise belt is not a title, it's a designation, then how can you be world champion? You can call someone a champion, but to me, being world champion is another level above. Yeah, it should be, at least.
Yeah. A champion, geez, he could be a spark plug. You know, it's the same thing. It's just a name. If you don't hold a championship for me, then you're not a real champion. That's how I look at it. If you can't lose your belt in the ring, if you don't have to defend your belt, well, there isn't a belt to start with. You know, it's just.
Well, it's not even that. It's the fact that they award it to someone without them actually obtaining it or winning it. It's just gifted to them.
Yeah. I'm down for calling it the Duck Championship, because effectively that's what they've designated it for, so they don't have to face their mandatories. So, yeah, for me, Canelo ducked Charlo and Loma ducked, what's his name? I just said it. Haney.
Not Haney?
Yeah. We still haven't determined or got the information out of Mauricio Solomon whether the franchise champion can challenge the WBC World Champion. Now, I was under the assumption that the franchise champion can't hold the WBC belt because they took it off them when they gave this designation, but at the same time, I didn't think about it, that once they gave these designations, both guys were due to face their mandatories in the WBC. So it makes sense that they lose their belt if they don't want to face their mandatories. But they're calling it elevated to franchise rather than stripping the belt, which is effectively what it is. They were just getting stripped.
I don't envisage a situation where it's similar to when Thurman and Pacquiao fought. It was for all of the WBA belts. I don't ever see the WBC doing something similar.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I guess if we're going in on the WBC, the WBA have to take some of this flack as well. They've got their WBA Gold Champion, they've got their WBA Regular Champion. They've got their interims not so bad, because that's supposed to be a mandatory, and if the champion doesn't face the mando, then the interim gets upgraded. But the WBC have been saying for years that they're going to dissolve this regular belt, and then they come out with this new gold belt. So in a sense they are somewhat just as bad, but at least they're not making a designation that has no defenses. You know, at least the belts that they've made, they have to defend them. So
yeah, because originally the WBA Super was just for the unified champs, wasn't it?
Yeah, unified or undisputed.
Yeah, but that went out the window pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was actually having an interesting conversation about the Super and the regular belt with Unrivaled the other day. Is talking about the Super champion doesn't have any mandatories. It's actually the regular that has the mandatories. So yeah. I haven't really looked too much into it, but I think he may have a point. Except they've called Anthony Joshua has been the super champion was the super champion for a while, and he fought Alexander Povetkin, who was his mandatory. So I don't know whether they've changed that they didn't have mandatories and now they do or what. But it certainly seems to me like there are mandatories for this super champion with the WBA. But Andy Ruiz has only had one WBA fight, and he's still considered the super champion, but I guess that's because he's unified. A little bit different.
Does Manuel Charr still have the regular?
He does, and
WBA.
he's... is it Manuel? Yeah, it's definitely Manuel Char's got hold of it, but
he defends as often as Wilder, maybe once every 1 or 2 years he fights.
he was supposed to be fighting someone for that belt. Oh, look that up. Who was it? We'll see that Fraser Quendo is still hanging around at the bottom of their rankings, and he's legally obligated to challenge for that regular title still. But no, Manuel Charr doesn't have a scheduled fight. Thought he was supposed to be fighting someone for that. So look at the rankings. We've got Joe Joyce and Marco Huck fighting that for that European title, as far as I know. But
so just if we can quickly fast forward while you're looking that up.
yeah,
Depending on, well, it doesn't really matter because unless the fight ends up in a draw, or either Ruiz or AJ is going to have 3 belts.
Yep.
Does Usyk get a first crack?
Well, originally the IBF had said that the WBO is next in the mandatory schedule, but as soon as Andy Ruiz lost his belt, Bob Arum and Kubrat Pulev started putting a lot of pressure on the IBF to change their mind and force their mandatory in front of the IBF. So it looks
Which
like...
belt did he lose, Jono?
Who?
Has he dropped the WBO?
No.
You said Andy Ruiz.
No, once Andy Ruiz beat Anthony Joshua the first time, that's when Pulev and Arum started putting a lot of pressure on the IBF to have their mandatory next. Screw the WBO. So I haven't really heard anything from the WBO saying whether they're going to press for theirs to be first, or whether they'll wait, or whether it's going to be stripped. But from what I'm hearing, particularly from Eddie Hearn and that, is they're saying that the WBO is likely to be stripped if the winner of Joshua Ruiz faces Pulev next. Therefore, Usyk will get a shot at a vacant belt. And how the rankings sit at the moment is Usyk number 1, Tyson Fury at number 2. He'll be busy in February. Anthony Joshua at 3. He'll either go up to the top or drop down, depending on the win or loss. Maybe Andy Ruiz might end up at 3. I don't know if he loses. But Joseph Parker's sitting there at number 4, and I could see Eddie Hearn trying to make Alexander Usyk and Joseph Parker for the vacant WBO strap in February. But that's also if Joseph Parker doesn't sign to fight Derek Chisora on that card, which is quite likely too. So there's a whole lot that could happen. I mean, it could end up Alexander Usyk versus Adam Kalnacki, who's at number 5 for the vacant WBO strap. But that fight may be a little bit harder to make, and considering Kalnacki's a PBC fighter.
I definitely think Bob, though, because of his connections to the WBO, he's definitely going to try and get that belt free.
Yeah. Oh, there could be another one too, because Daniel Dubois fighting... Oh, who was he fighting? He's got a fight scheduled for December 7th, I think it was. For the Oh, he's fighting Kitaro Fujimoto for the WBO Asia Pacific title, I think it is. So that'll
Mhm.
boost his ranking up from number 6 in the WBO. He might end up fighting Usyk for the vacant world title. Wouldn't that be awesome for Dubois anyway?
Yeah. Is Dubois on the WBO route?
He's number 6 in the WBO as it
Number
stands.
6, yeah.
Behind Kalnacki and ahead of Junior Farr at number 7.
I definitely think Dubois is one to watch because he has improved a lot in the last year.
He has, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think he's just going to get better because he's very young. So I reckon he's going to be the next British threat on the heavyweight scene.
Yeah, well, I can't see why not. He's definitely the brightest spark coming out of the UK at present, I think. And like you say, the improvements he's shown in the last 12 months have been quite phenomenal. You know, he doesn't look so much like a big stiff robot anymore. He moves his head a bit. He's proven against some quality, well, not world-beating competition, but definitely some quality competition for an up-and-coming prospect.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing very well, man. Looking forward to seeing how far he can go. So, yeah, very interesting for sure. Anybody else in the chat who may like to join, there is a link there, and I've just dropped another one. Feel free to hit it. Come join us. Anything goes today, so we can talk about anything y'all want. Is there any other particular subjects you'd like to get started on, Tommy?
Have you started talking up the Ruiz rematch?
No, man.
AJ, no?
Might as well get into that. How do you think it's going to go?
The thing is, I'm getting conflicting reports about how much weight Ruiz has lost. So I don't know what to believe, right? You see different photographs where he looks a lot thinner in the face, and then I'll see an interview from yesterday, and the guy still looks fat in the face. And I know he's lost weight, but it doesn't look like he's lost that much weight. So I just don't know if it's really going to make that much of a difference. I think, to be honest, I actually think AJ can make the difference by doing the right thing, training in the right way, coming in maybe 15 pounds lighter, give or take, and then boxing more intelligently. But there's so many variables. It's hard for me right now. I think once I see them on the weigh-in, I'll make my pick. But right now, I'm sort of just dithering a little bit.
Yeah, definitely understand what you're saying. With regard to Andy Ruiz's weight or the posts he's been putting up, don't believe any of it. Don't believe any of it, because a lot of the photos when he first started posting about, oh, I've lost 30 pounds, I've lost 40 pounds, the pictures that he was posting were pictures from before he fought Joseph Parker, when he was trying to lose weight then. They're the exact same pictures. So don't believe it. But there was one picture out there, and I know it was recent, was of him and Michael Hunter sitting on the side of a ring. I think that picture in particular is a legit one, about close to where he is with his weight at the moment. For me, he looked a little bit bigger in the shoulders. His chest looks a little more defined. His legs look like toothpicks under his still got a belly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Andy Ruiz is going to be losing 30 pounds for this fight or anything like that. I don't think we'll see him any lighter than about 245 at the lowest. But I think
what's the lowest he's been? 240 something? Joseph Parker fight, I think he was about 240 or was it 260?
252 for that fight, I think. I'll bring his profile up and we'll have a squiz. Andy Ruiz box rec. Bring him up. I'll just get it on the screen. Give me a sec here. Where's my browser? Here we go. Up on screen for the viewers. Okay, Andy Ruiz Jr. I don't think he's...
How tall is he, Jono?
It says he's 6'2", but he's more like 6'1".
Okay.
Am I signed in? Yes, I'm signed in, so the weights should come up. 258 for his last. 262. 252 and a half against Kevin Johnson. That's getting close to his lower weights. Scrolling through, have we got anything? And oh, there's a 248 when he fought Rafael Zambano Love. Yeah, 248s. There's a few of them. But
just curious, what weight did oh god, what was that? It's in the intro to your video. Who's the guy who knocked out the other Ruiz?
David Tua.
David Tua. How he wasn't even 6 foot, was he?
No man, he's only like 5'10".
And
same
what was
height
he,
as
like
Joey
240?
DeWicke. We'll have a look, eh?
But he was very muscular though, wasn't he?
He was. His legs were very thick as well. That's where a lot of his power came from.
Mm-hmm.
David Tua.
And forgive me for asking, but which is he from your neck of the woods, or is he from the other island?
He was born in Samoa but moved to New Zealand as a young lad. And he went to the... Oh shit, it might have been Olympics. He got a bronze in the Olympics, I think, at 19 years old, and then turned pro. But,
And he went the distance with Lennox, didn't he?
He did.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he only ever got stopped once. Who was it who stopped him? His best entertaining fight for sure was that guy who went to prison, Ike Ibeabuchi. Man, that was a war. Nobody expected Ibeabuchi to be able to stand up to the power, but he stood up to it alright and threw his own back and rocked Tua heaps. It was awesome. Awesome fight. You know, I would have loved to have seen Mike Tyson and David Tua get it on. It never happened. I think Tua probably would have lost that one, but certainly
Would have been entertaining.
Oh yeah, would have been legendary entertainment. I'm sure.
There was even talks of Roy Jones fighting Mike Tyson at one point when he went up to heavyweight. But obviously, it was never made.
No, I think by that stage wasn't Roy getting on a bit, mind you. No, well, it can't have been that old because he's only 50 something now and only had his last fight not too long ago. David Tua never got stopped by the looks of it. I've seen him get knocked down once. I can't even remember who did that, but his weight most of the time was about 230 to 240. Oh, he's got one here at 252.
Yeah, that probably towards the end of his career. It was a bit pudgy towards the end.
Yeah, he loves KFC. The Samoans and KFC, man, they're inseparable.
Well, KFC's got to be better than Snickers.
Yeah, but
Got a bit of protein.
I've seen him around at a few New Zealand events, and he's a big boy now, man. He didn't grow any taller, but he's just about as wide as he is tall now. I even seen I don't know if you've ever heard of Jimmy Thunder. He had a hell of a little career, but got ripped off and never was trained properly and whatnot. But he ended up homeless, man.
Oh, shit.
And he's a similar sort of build to Tua, another Samoan, but yeah.
Mala just said Monty Barrett knocked down Tua.
That's who it was. Yeah, Monty Barrett's got him, and you know Barrett's not a huge puncher. It was quite interesting, but he got up. I think he still lost that fight too, didn't he? Mala's into the Kiwi history fights for sure. Where is it? Monty Barrett. Can't be too far down his record. There it is. Monty Barrett. Oh, it was a majority draw, that one. Over 12.
Majority draw. Does that mean 2 judges have it a draw?
Yeah. 2 judges a draw and 1 picked the winner. Let's have a look at the scores on that one, actually. How wide was the one who scored it for a win for somebody?
And where was that fight? Was it in the US or somewhere else?
It was on July 17th, 2010, and it was in Atlantic City.
Yeah, so you could imply that there was maybe a little bit of home cooking in the decision.
I guess so, yeah. 115, 111. One judge had it to David Tua.
4 rounds, 4 points, I should say.
That's quite wide compared to one of the other judges got it here.
Was it a 10 or 12 rounder?
12.
12, okay.
115, 111, 113 to 115, 113 to 115. So 2 judges had it. Oh no, 113 to 113. One had it a draw, and 2 judges had it opposite ways round, but one had it 115, 111. So even with Tua getting knocked down, he still had 115. Wow.
Is that not a split draw, Jono? Or am I confused? No, split draw. Oh yes, split draw is when one judge has it draw and the other 2 have it either way, I think.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Split draw is 1 each way, and then 1 called it a draw. But they've got it as a majority draw. That doesn't make sense. A majority draw means 2 picked the draw and 1 picked the winner. But it's definitely a majority draw, it says here. That's confusing.
Well, I'm sure Unrivaled will be able to clear that up within 5 seconds.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, back to the Joshua versus Ruiz fight. Like you said, I think the key for Joshua to win that fight is to fight smart. I don't think his weight's too much of an issue as long as he's under 250-ish. I think he'll be fine.
Sorry, you're talking about Ruiz or AJ right here when you talk about
AJ.
the 250? AJ, okay,
Yeah.
I actually think 240 is his best weight or thereabouts.
For a small opponent like that, it's not a bad idea, but I don't want to see him draining himself at the same time. You know, as long as he's
but
fit.
do you remember the last weigh? And did you remember seeing his stomach? His stomach looked bloated, and that could be just a number of reasons. But he didn't look like in fighting shape for me. He looked like he trained, but not trained for a world class or world championship boxing event. You know?
Yeah. What was his weight on that one?
Oh, I think it was 250 something. Was it?
It might have been
Let's have a look.
253 or something like that too. But he was training for Miller, so you know he could have been trying to keep a bit of padding on for a high volume body attack. You know?
Yeah, but he had what 5 weeks before the fight before Miller popped dirty. That's plenty of time to take to lighten up. To be fair.
Yeah, but by that stage you're supposed to be at your fighting weight and just working on your technique, eh?
It's different for heavyweights though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed. Weight's not supposed to be so much of an issue with heavyweights. So, as long as he's got the gas to be able to move around and keep the fight long all night without getting gassed out, then he should be okay. but I do worry about Joshua being able to cope with the speed when Andy Ruiz does get in on him, because there will be a few times where he does get in on him, but he might have to fight like Vlad used to, jab and grab. If Andy gets in on him, tie him up, don't let him loose. And is the ref going to let him do that for the whole fight? I don't know.
Well, depends where the fight is.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia. Have we got officials for it yet?
I know it sounds quite simple, but I think AJ would be well advised just to keep his palm on Ruiz's forehead, just to keep the distance, and then that way he could measure his right hand.
Yep, I can totally agree with that, and it stops Andy Ruiz lunging in at him. Once he's got his hand on his head, Andy can't hit him, can't reach him, so...
Do you remember the technique that George Foreman used against Joe Frazier? He basically squared him off on the shoulders every time, and then Joe had to reset. It was so simple, but it was so effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. We did see, in that Kovalev Canelo fight, Kovalev was trying to do that, use the jab hand to keep the range. The ref was telling him off for it. He told him off all night for it, and he didn't get a point taken off. I thought it was pretty interesting in itself. But I think it will depend a lot on the referee, and I can't seem to find...
Has the referee been chosen yet?
Yeah, well, I haven't tried to look up the ref for upcoming bouts before, and I'm not sure where to look for it. I'm looking in the belt section, and it's got the arena, it's got the date, heavyweight contest, 12 rounds, it's got what belts it's for, but it doesn't have a referee or judges that I can spot just yet. It's the last 6 fights. No, there's no referee information.
No, I'm looking at Google now, and I can't see anything other than the first fight. The referee.
No, man, I can't see any information on officials whatsoever. Don't know why that is. Maybe it hasn't been picked yet. It's getting... What are we... It's the 11th of November here. It's less than a month away for us now. It should be sorted. That sucks.
I'd like to think as part of the agreement for the rematch that they would have agreed on this already.
Indeed. Yeah. Needs to be sorted. We've got Marlo in the chat. Didn't notice you there.
Mate?
Sorry, brother. How are you?
Straight, yeah, good, mate. Good.
It's good, man.
How's it going?
All right, man. What do you reckon? How do you think this fight can be won or lost for Joshua versus Ruiz?
Oh, I think for Joshua, obviously coming about 240. I agree, it's a good weight. Got to fight long. Got to fight tall. His jab has got to work. I've said this a few times, but man, if he can bring an effective jab, really put real steam on the jab, throw it with authority, and he can control range and tempo, the fight's there for him to win. Because he can fight from the outside, throw combos off his jab, and just jab, set him up, throw the combo, and then use his legs and get out of there. And then get back on the jab, stick, to set up the next combo and keep working him like that from range and try and frustrate Ruiz so that if try and get Ruiz to a point where he loses himself and he comes in with his head down, he just tries to charge in. Then you can uppercut. You land the uppercut, come back with a left hook. If he's rocking and rolling, stay in there and smash him. But if he doesn't look like he's going to go down, get out of there and get back on the jab. Don't make the mistake he made in the first fight of trying to trade with him when he thought he was hurt when he really wasn't. Yeah. And I think if AJ does that, I think, the fight's, he's a good chance for the fight. But I think if I fear for AJ, if his jab fails him and it becomes a close quarters dogfight where they're trading hand speed and combos consistently, I think he's going to get smashed again.
Yeah. Pocket is danger, and in most cases for AJ. Even if he's
Yep.
throwing that uppercut, I'd think he'd be better to throw the uppercut and then get out of range before
Yeah,
Eddie
yeah,
can
Bale.
try and counter.
Yeah, Bale, man. I just, yeah, because when the first fight they had, I was expecting big things from his jab, and it didn't eventuate. And so I think if his jab doesn't eventuate again this time, I think we're going to get the same outcome. I really do. He needs that jab to work. It's the key for him.
Yeah. Just to note, Joshua was 247.5 for the first fight, and I didn't realise that he was quite as light as he was when he fought Joseph Parker. He was only 242. I didn't think he'd been that low before. So
Yeah. He was 245.25 against Povetkin. Takumi was big. He was 254. Vladdy was 250. Molinari was 249. So he was really light for Parker. He got himself very trim.
he was trying to cater for that speed, eh?
Yeah, he's like 244 against Martin, 245 Dillian White, 243 Brazil, so 249.25 against Gary Cornish. So he come in really light for Parker,
He did.
the lightest weight. Yeah, he needs to do that again for Ruiz.
Yeah,
He needs
I
to
agree.
bring that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, low 240 seems to work best for him.
Yeah.
Well,
We might
generally
even
speaking,
see
I
it.
think for mobility, yeah.
Might even see him crack 239, 238.
Yeah.
I think if he starts getting down 235, he might be pushing it a bit far. But we'll
One
see.
thing, I just had an idea. One thing with AJ, he's got to try, when Ruiz is coming at him, throwing these flurries of punches, he's got to keep his hands up, but he's got to keep looking at his opponent. He's got to keep his composure. Because in that first fight, at times, man, it was almost like he was turning away. Do you know what I mean? He looked really out of sorts and really uncomfortable when Ruiz was doing that to him. And
Yeah.
he's got to keep his eye on his opponent. And then if Ruiz gets in real close, grab hold. You know, he just, I'm really concerned about the lack of composure showed. It might have been because he was concussed, if he was concussed. That, you know, you can't keep your composure when you're concussed, obviously. You're going to be pretty fucking all over the place.
Yeah. L-Dog just put a comment in this comment section that I think is pretty relevant, but I think it's what Joshua is going to have to do to win the fight. He says Klitschko era 2.0, and I think that's how he can beat Ruiz and beat him convincingly. Jab and grab and fight from the outside.
Jab and grab, yeah, man. Well, that's what Buster Douglas did that to Tyson, eh?
Yeah, wrecked his
People
game
forget-
plan.
He did, man. He fought from the outside and tied up from the inside. Yeah, totally wrecked him.
And realistically, from Andy Ruiz's point of view, what other game can he use to try and counter a jab and grab game?
Well, the thing with Ruiz, AJ, he can try and change things up a bit from what he did in the first fight, but Ruiz, he can only bring the same thing. He's got to come forward. He's got to cut the ring off, try and cut down AJ's room to move and his time to think, and try and create a pressure fight, and just fight at a good tempo to force AJ to fight at a good tempo. Don't let him coast along and fight in a comfort zone. And when he gets in, and he's got to get in close and let his hands go, Ruiz, he can't actually. There's not a whole lot of different ways he can win the fight. You know, it's sort of that's the problem for him. But I still think he's just such a tough guy, Ruiz, and I'm still leaning towards him winning. I've said this before. I'm just concerned about AJ. Like, he can change things up, and you could see AJ. I actually think when this fight happens, it's going to be a slow start to the fight. I think there's going to be respect. Both guys got knocked down in the first fight, so there'll be respect there.
Yeah.
AJ, no matter what he says publicly, it's going to be in the back of his mind that Ruiz beat his ass. Right, he got hammered, and he's going to have a healthy respect. So I think you're going to see a slow-paced fight early on, and AJ is going to be very cautious, fighting behind the jab, trying to establish it. But I think, I actually think AJ will probably win the early rounds. If he's working his jab, he will let you see him start taking those early rounds. But the problem for AJ is he can be winning rounds, everything can be going really good, the plan's working, and then he gets hit by Ruiz and stunned, and he can't recover. He recovers very slowly, and then the whole thing just starts unraveling.
Yeah, well,
You know?
It's not even that. He could gas as well, because if he I mean, I honestly believe that AJ is a strong 5-round fighter. After that, he's not really that effective because of his stamina issues. If Ruiz can ride the early storm, he could probably take over the second half of the fight.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that mental part is going to be the hardest thing to overcome for AJ. I mean, if he had lost a 12-round decision close on the cards, then yeah, he'd be a lot more confident he could do better next time around, but it's always going to be in the back of his mind, like Marla was saying. He knocked me the fuck out. He beat me the fuck up, so I don't want to get tagged by that one shot in the temple again, because if I do, I may not recover, and my whole career is going down the gurgler.
Yeah. And there's another thing you got to look at too. I thought about this the other day. It could also how he knocked Ruiz down in the third round, and then when it went in to go after him and ended up getting smashed himself, you could see a situation in this next fight where he has Ruiz hurt but doesn't go in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He will be very wary, yeah.
Because he's wary, and it could let Ruiz off the hook. So, yeah, there's a lot of ways this could go.
If he does knock Ruiz down before the 6th round, you just watch his face. He'll be trying to look at Andy Ruiz's eyes and make an assessment rather than trying to rush in and take him out like last time.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that fat little marshmallow can pack a whole lot of punches like a machine gun in a hurry if you're not ready for it.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm still picking Ruiz at this stage, and I think it's a stoppage, but I think that's the only way Ruiz can win. I don't think Ruiz can win on points whatsoever. There's not a chance for me.
No, I'm going TKO for Ruiz if he's going to do it. Yeah. No, I'm sort of 55-45. It'll be interesting at the weigh-in just to see what they weigh. I think Ruiz, I saw an article and he was talking and he said he wanted to come in 5 kilos below the first fight, which is 11 pounds. So that works out at about 257.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be 255 to 260 come fight time. He won't be as light as what people think he's going to be. Yeah.
I just saw a comment in here from Oasis. Oasis 1 said AJ is not good. It's like, well, I think that's going a bit far. You know,
yeah.
He got hurt and he got taken out, but he's beaten Vladimir Klitschko. He's beaten a world champion in Joseph Parker. He's beaten the former world champion in Alexander Povetkin, who's still relevant at this stage. Beating guys like that, you got to be somewhat good. If you
I've got a healthy,
but Vector still has probably the best resume.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not. Well, he's only got the one loss to Klitschko, but he's got a pretty damn good resume. But you know, I think even AJ's resume is comparable to Povetkin's at this stage because he's fought a whole lot of unbeaten, young, hungry fighters at the same time.
Yeah, I got a healthy respect for AJ. I mean, I know he got a hiding, but he's a big guy and he can crack. And if he threw his best right hand and it landed on the point of Ruiz's chin,
nice.
You know,
yeah,
it could go the other way. I mean, it's boxing. You can just never count anybody out. It's just the way. So I'm leaning towards Ruiz, but I'm certainly not bullish about it. You know, I got a healthy respect for AJ. I know this fight could go the other way. Yeah,
well, I'm the same. You know, I'm picking Ruiz, but I'm only putting it at like 55-45. So,
yep.
And this is heavyweight boxing. One punch can change the whole scheme of the fight. Doesn't matter when it happens. It could just change like that. Done. So,
and if AJ brings a successful jab, because if he brings a good jab, and he can keep Ruiz off him most of the time. He's not only controlling the range of the fight, which is going to take away a lot of Ruiz's offense, he can control the tempo of the fight. He can get the fight to go at a pace that he likes, so he won't gas.
For sure.
You know, so it's there's so many ways this fight can go. That's what makes it so exciting, you know?
Yeah. L-Dogs just dropped a comment. Very interesting fight. I would love to see it, but we probably won't see it in a while. Filip Hrgovic versus Daniel Dubois. How would you guys see that fight going? You gonna kick off, Tommy?
I'm gonna go with Dubois.
Yeah. Any method, or are you just going to leave it at that for now?
I'm going to wimp out.
Okay. What do you reckon, Muller?
Yeah, I'd have to go with Dubois at the moment. He's the front. You'd have to call him the front runner. You know.
Yeah, well, I think he's probably fought the better opposition at this stage to prove himself.
Yeah, because Hrgovic's only had 9 fights or something.
Yeah, something like that. I haven't got his resume up at the moment, but he's going to be fighting Eric Molina on the 7th on the undercard of Joshua Ruiz. But still, that still wouldn't put him above Dubois in resume for me. But I think it's a very good fight, and I would have trouble picking a winner. At the moment, I guess I'd have to say Dubois, just based on what he's shown us. But I've seen a lot of Hrgovic in the amateurs as well. And, you know, I thought he beat Tony Yoka in the Olympics. I thought he beat... there was someone else he got ripped off too. I thought he beat... Filip Hrgovic is a beast. He's...
How do you spell his last name? Oh, here it is, Hrgovic.
H-R-G-O-V-I-C.
Just getting yeah, 9 fights. Some 6'6", so they're similar height. He's an inch taller than Dubois. 9 fights, 7 stoppages. He's fighting Molina coming up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who's his last 3 fights, Muller?
Mario Heredia, Gregory Corbin, and Kevin Johnson.
Okay. And before that was Amir Mansour, I suppose.
Amir Mansour,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting fight. He can obviously crack. He's a big dude, and he can punch.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'd love to see that fight, though, L-Dog.
Yeah.
I wish.
Future fight, eh?
Yeah, we may see Hrgovic trying to fight some more meaningful fights next year, from what I hear from Eddie Hearn. They're saying he's ready to fight anybody. We may end up seeing him fight Michael Hunter even. But until we get that big step up, you know, fight somebody in the top 10 from Hrgovic, then we can't really make an accurate assessment on where he sits as a pro, as a proven resume anyway. Dubois, I guess his best win has got to be Gorman, who was ranked at the time, but man, did he make him look silly. Made him look like a big baby. But certainly one to watch. You know, there's a few really good prospects at the moment that we need to see some step ups. We got that Efer Jugba, we got Yevgeny Romanov, we got that Jalalov guy who fought in the World Champs Amateurs recently. We've got Aslanbek Makhmadov, Filip Hrgovic, Tony Yoka. Man, there's some good prospects out there, and I'd like to see some of them fight each other very soon. Will be awesome.
But if he's big, he got an 85-inch reach, man, at 6'6". Dubois got a 78-inch reach, and he's 6'5". It's funny, he's got long arms, Jugba.
Yeah, knuckle draggers for sure.
Yeah, and he's...
and he has been giving up that advantage in a few fights recently. Was it his last fight? The guy he
fought that... Yeah, no, the other guy had 80-inch reach.
Okay.
6'3", the 80-inch reach. But it was a good fight, that fight. He certainly tested a Jugba. He shook him up a bit.
Yeah, I think he got a bit of a fright, eh? He's like, this guy ain't supposed to be punching me back like that. What's going on? Where is he? Ali Arantamirazin, that was him. He put up a good fight, and everybody expected, because they hadn't heard of him, the Jugba will knock him over, but he took him to points over 10 rounds. And at times, a Jugba was looking a bit gassed. He had to take some rests in the fight. And while he was taking those rests, he was getting tagged at the same time. So...
Yeah, he's got a lot to work on, eh? You could take that from the fight, certainly.
Yeah. Couple of years down the track, he's another one of these guys who's somewhat learning his craft on the job, kind of like Daniel Dubois has been, but man, Dubois has taken that big leap, like Tommy was saying. The last 12 months he seems to improve the hell of a lot, so whatever he's done is working, and maybe Ajagba needs to find that groove where he can suck up some technique knowledge like a sponge. Maybe it's a different coach or different training regime or something, I don't know, but
bring some head movement, eh?
Definitely, yeah. Leaning back to avoid punches works when you're fighting smaller opponents, but when you get to guys that are fighting the same size as you, you can't just lean back all the time. You got to use some angles. You got to move your upper torso. You got to move that head and be able to throw punches off that as well. So he's got some work to do, but looking forward to seeing where Ajagba goes as well.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think of Usyk? I was on talking to some guys. They reckon how Usyk would school Chisora, and I don't know if has he got the power to hurt Chisora. You know, he would have to. He's going to have to be pretty slick and try and beat him on points, man. I think Chisora, he's a pressure fighter, and he would be on Usyk. He would be really looking to work his body a lot and just keep hammering it. It wouldn't be easy.
No, it would not be easy at all. I think Usyk, the only way here I think Usyk could stop Chisora would be accumulation. It'd have to be rounds 9, 10, 11 to be able to stop him. But then again, if we look at something comparable, is David Haye versus Derek Chisora. Same size as Usyk.
Yeah. Power. He could hit though, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Hey.
you look at Usyk's punch technique when he sits down on punches. He doesn't really sit down on punches like David Haye used to throw his big right hand. You can see him winding it up and putting everything into it. Usyk doesn't do that. I imagine if he did try and do that, he could possibly hit near as hard as David Haye, but it's not in his technique to do that because he's so evasive. But shit. Yeah, I don't think he would do it in a fight against somebody like Chisora.
No, go for the points.
Yeah, go for the points, and if Chisora starts gassing out, then maybe he could pour it on to try and get a stoppage. But he ain't knocking.
Yeah,
he
but
ain't knocking
how
Delby
much
out.
power do you think Usyk's got in his right hand?
Well, he had enough to knock out Tony Bellew, who's got a fairly decent chin as well. Remember?
Yeah, but that was a left hand. That was a rear hand shot.
Most funny, looking at Usyk, most of his knockouts are quite late, eh?
Yeah, he's accumulative for sure.
Yeah.
He's not a one punch.
Chopped a few down kind of
No,
guy.
he's not somebody who puts people to sleep either. You know,
No.
he gets stoppages due to the ref jumping in, or someone's had enough punishment, or they quit, or something like that. You know.
You know, people were talking about Usyk, Parker. That'd be interesting. They're 6'3" against 6'4". They both got a 78-inch reach. And Parker's quick, you know, and that's a bonus for Parker. Their punching power, that would go 12 rounds, I think. You know, that would be a 12 round. That would be a very interesting fight stylistically. He's a southpaw, isn't he, Usyk?
Yes.
Parker hasn't had a lot of experience with southpaw, so that might go against Parker. It'd be a good fight. You know, it'd be a good fight, eh?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to see it. It may happen for the vacant WBO strap if it gets stripped. Hopefully we may see that. And I think it's a very good fight as well. But to some fans, it would be a ball fest. You know, the guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, definitely. Some fans would not like it.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't mind it if there wasn't a knockout, but they were both throwing plenty of punches and getting it going at each other. I'd still enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd still enjoy seeing that. It would just be if it was if they were both cautious and both, you know, that would suck.
Yeah. If they
Yeah.
just
But
wanted,
Parker,
if they just
Parker
wanted
would
to
have to
dance
go.
around like Huey Fury all night, nobody would like it, including me.
You know, yeah. So I mean, you know, Parker you'd want Parker to go at him.
Yeah.
To try and put pressure on. You wouldn't want Parker to stand back and let Usyk do what he wanted when he wanted, because Usyk will just pick him apart. So
Yeah, well, I think Usyk's, even though Joe's pretty quick, I think Usyk's still going to have a speed advantage there. Definitely got the faster feet too, so Joe
Yep.
could be chasing his, turning around, looking at his tail all night, trying to find Usyk. But I think Joe definitely hits a lot harder than Usyk does. I'm not saying Joe's a one-punch knockout artist. He's somewhat a cumulative at heavyweight as well.
Oh, he can crack.
He can crack when he wants to, though. Yeah. He's a boxer puncher. He's not a pure boxer.
Yeah.
He's not a pure puncher. So, he said it many times. Boxing's about hitting and not getting hit. And I think his defense, particularly before he fought Anthony Joshua, was quite underrated. Yeah, he got tagged every now and then, but most of the shots he does get hit with, he's either moving with them or he's partially blocking them. So,
it was like when Parker fought Ruiz. I remember Ruiz was throwing these flurries of punches and everyone was cheering, oh yeah, but then you watched in the slow-mo and they weren't landing.
yeah,
They were all sliding off Parker's face. They weren't connecting.
yeah, or bouncing off a shoulder first, or off a glove.
He's much better defensively than what people give him credit for.
Even when he fought Huey Fury, people will say, oh, he jabbed his head off all night, you deserve to win. Watch it in slow-mo. Watch how many of those jabs don't actually hit his face.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
interesting.
totally. Yeah.
So, looking forward to seeing where Joe goes. And while we're on this, actually, I did a bit of research because I did watch I think it was Boxing Social again, did a video interview with him recently. And he showed the scar on his leg of where he had his spider bite.
I saw that. Yeah.
And initially, when he first found it, his daughter had pointed it out, said, "What's that, Daddy?" And he looked down and saw it, was like, ooh, there was a hole in his leg. So I did a bit of research and thought, because I assumed that he got bitten while he was over in Vegas in camp, but no, he got bitten here in New Zealand, where we don't really have poisonous spiders.
Yeah, whitetail.
Apparently, it was either a caterpillar or a redback.
Oh, really?
Because whitetails are not very venomous whatsoever, really, but they can make like small children quite sick. But a caterpillar or a redback,
they'll hit you.
They can.
You're talking about spiders still?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They can make adults quite ill. They can give you bad abdominal pain. They can give you swelling around the wound. They can give you aches and pains in muscles and make you really tired and give you fevers. So it was either one of them two by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it does sound like it. It's funny. I saw one tosser, and he goes, "It was a steroid injection that's got infected." And I said to this guy, I said, "Mate, if Joseph Parker is on steroids, what exactly are they doing?"
Yeah.
His punching power is just average. His stamina is not bad, but it's not exceptional. It's just what you would expect. His body tone is nothing out of this world. It's just normal. So, I mean, I said to the guy, Christ, mate, if I was buying steroids and getting the results he was getting, I'd be going back to my supplier and asking for a refund, mate.
Stop selling me Panadol.
You know what I mean? It's not doing anything, eh, man?
Yeah, he's got the wrong dealer, man.
Yeah, man.
Somebody's selling him sugar. But yeah. So I was a bit surprised about the spider thing anyway. I've never seen a caterpillar in my life. They are the only venomous spider native to New Zealand. Both the redback and the whitetails come from Australia.
Yeah.
And even the redbacks are pretty rare. Whitetails are a dime a dozen. You can pick up any log anywhere and you'll see one. But that's the story of Peter Parker. I mean, Spider-Man. I mean, Joseph Parker.
I just hope Parker. I hope Parker fights him again. I hope Parker fights him and beats him, because I mean, people were saying I was talking to some guys and they're, Parker bottled it, and I said, well, he's fought Takam, he's fought AJ, he's fought Dillian White, he's fought Ruiz. Why would he bottle it against Chisora?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like he's been in with some good fighters, mate. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. And they were saying, he ducked him twice. I said, well, no, the first time, Chisora was playing games. He was dragging out the negotiations. He would not sign the contract because what he was trying to do was shorten the time that Parker had to get into camp and actually focus on Chisora and train properly. And
That's
they
right.
knew Chisora's game. They knew what he was doing, so they just walked away.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
effectively, Chisora ducked that fight by fucking around, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, man. He did. And then they come back the second time. It was all signed. They were training up. And now this thing, spider things happened. So I hope they fight again. I really do hope they fight again just to shut people up.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to see Parker and get in the ring and just do it. You know, see what happens.
Yeah, by all means, it sounds like we might see that match up in February next year on this heavyweight card that Eddie Hearn's trying to put together. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Either
I saw Kevin Barry talking, and he's keen. He wants it. They still want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised they're pushing, considering they will be well aware that WBO strap may be up for grabs come February.
If it comes up, I think they will take that. I think if they get offered, if Eddie Hearn offered it to them, I think that they will grab that.
Yeah.
I think they would. It'd be crazy not to. Crazy not to. You know.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard earlier as well, there could be something else happened there with Daniel Dubois fighting Kitaro Fujimoto. I know it's a really crap fight, but Fujimoto holds that, I think it's the WBO Asia Pacific title. And if he gets hold of that, Daniel Dubois could end up ranked higher than Joseph Parker. So he could be in for that belt.
Jump it. Yeah. Yep.
And in that case, then I guess we'd definitely see Chisora Parker. And then Usyk Dubois. Man, that's a good fight too. Usyk Dubois. I'd love to see that one.
It'll be Usyk's experience. Usyk will have to use all his experience, eh?
Yeah. Because that Dubois boy he's strong, man. You can throw a lot of punches at him and he's going to keep coming. And he seems to have sorted out any stamina issues that he seemed to have earlier on his career. So
Yeah.
the landscape's going to change come Christmas time. And we'll see what happens. But looking forward to seeing what happens. That's for sure. Alright, another topic. What else have we got confirmed for that, Josh?
You got Deontay coming up against Ortiz. That'll be over in 6, I think.
Yeah, well, we can do a quick round on that. I think pretty much everyone's on the same page there. I think it's going to be around 4 stoppage, but it could go up to 6. For me, Ortiz is only getting older. He's got it in his head now that he got knocked down, was it 3 or 4 times against Wilder the first time?
Yeah.
He got beaten down, so I can't see Ortiz beating Wilder. I mean, it's certainly possible, but I see knockout 4th round. You reckon, Marla?
I'd say 5 rounds or less. Actually, I think he's just Wilder. He's gonna know what Ortiz is bringing, and Ortiz is older. So this could be actually quite a bad blowout. I think. Yeah.
End of Ortiz even.
I think so. I think he'll. I think this is it for him. Really.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, it'll be the biggest payday, ideally, of his career. I mean, if he turned down, what was it, $7 million? He'd be a fool if they didn't at least match that with his cash out fight.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of issues with Ortiz's management, in my opinion. I mean,
oh man,
the opportunity for $7.5 million or whatever it was a short notice offer. You know, you can't be expected to sit and negotiate when there's 5 weeks to go until the fight. But that's what the Dade Promotions guy did. He didn't tell Ortiz, he didn't tell his trainer, didn't tell anybody, and that's where the confusion was with Eddie Hearn. And
I don't believe that story. I believe that Ortiz was contractually obliged to go down a certain route which excluded fighting AJ. That's what I believe.
Or the people, or the Heyman and all the other top dogs, just they had their ambition of where they wanted him to go, and they've just misled him, one way or the other. Yeah, I just don't think that the people running the show really on Ortiz's side really wanted that fight. Yeah.
It's an interesting situation. He's got Dade Promotions as his primary promoter. He's got Al Heyman as his advisor. He's worked on a fight-by-fight basis with Matchroom before. There's a lot of players in the game. Maybe he was contracted to stay there ready for Wilder to knock over again. I don't know. But it seems crazy to me that, turn down a big payday like that to fight Wilder for, I don't know what he's going to be getting, but it won't be as much as what he would have got. I mean, for the first Wilder fight, he only got $500,000.
That's shit money, hey.
So-
That's terrible. God, man, that's awful. Because he'd only get about probably 30% of that $500,000 after tax and expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody taking their slice out of it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Got a question. Oh, yeah, go.
You go for it, man.
I got someone's Wilder's equalised was saying, let's say Ruiz loses, are we going to see Wilder AJ or what? Oh, I don't know. I've lost
I would
faith.
think so.
Let's say Ruiz loses, are we going to see Wilder AJ or what? Oh, I don't know.
Someone's got their YouTube on.
It's me. Sorry.
All right. You're away now.
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good.
How you doing, Rafi?
I'm good, mate. Good. I've had my Sunday nap, so all is right with the world.
Sweet as. Yeah, we're just talking a bit about the landscape and what's going on at the moment. We're touching on the Wilder fight against Ortiz and talking about possibly the managerial issues that Ortiz has.
Yeah, that's the part where I came in. Some very, very strange, very, very strange with the Ortiz managerial setup. I'm of the school of opinion that it was that Ortiz could not for whatever reason contractually could not accept the Joshua fight, or contractually was severely restrained from accepting the Joshua fight. Because I mean, who's not going to take $7 million to get beat up?
Yeah. Well,
There's very few people on the planet. Am I loud in this thing? I sound very loud. Unless it's my monitors. There's very few people on the planet who won't accept $7 million to get beat up.
Yeah, well, it doesn't make sense unless there was some kind of contractual obligation like you're talking about to me. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely some kind of contractual restriction. He was definitely restricted. It seems that he was definitely restricted contractually.
Oasis 1 in the chat. No Fury Wilder rematch next. Is that official or is that opinion? I did see Wilder come out the other day saying Fury's scared. I wouldn't be surprised if he ducks me again, and so on and so forth. Well, this time there's a contract in place, and I don't believe most boxers aren't scared of anybody. They're fighting men. For me, fear doesn't stop somebody getting in the ring. You're in the wrong business if you've got fear in your heart when it comes to boxing. But,
Bo Lewis.
Yeah, that was terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I think fear is a factor sometimes, Jono. I think fear is a factor sometimes.
Well, and sometimes, yeah, that's why I said most boxers, But Fury, I don't believe he's scared of anybody. Wilder, I don't think he's scared of anybody. Same with Joshua, Ruiz, Parker, all of them.
Is it fear of the opposition or fear of the consequences of a loss?
Yeah, I think it's the consequences, getting, It was like with Parker, they've sort of become very cautious with Parker because he's had 2 losses in a row. So you can see it now. They're a lot more cautious than what they were. They took the Dillian White fight on short notice. They had no issue with it. But since then, they're sort of like, oh, we better be careful. So,
when you lose 2 on a trot, it gets to the point where your career could be in jeopardy. So it makes sense to be a bit more wary about it.
Yeah, man.
When you've got no losses and only draws on your record, I don't think fear's much of a factor, to be honest. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah. Well, I think with the way the landscape is at the moment, and with Fury specifically, he's got opportunities coming up now. He's got a Christmas song with Robbie Williams due out. He's got his book. I think his book is out. He's just been over to Saudi Arabia and avoided being kidnapped. I read an article. Well, I read a title of an article. I haven't gone to the article yet. Suggesting that he's got a second bout schedule with the WWE. So I think if Wilder, fear is not the only option, why Fury might sidestep the rematch. If he did sidestep the rematch, he's looking at commercial avenues, commercial opportunities, and he's saying, what do I need with this big bronze dosser? Do I really need this big bronze dosser in my life right about now?
Yeah. I see Oasis is a bit persistent about Joshua Wilder. I think the fact of the matter is, if AJ does beat Ruiz, I don't think the IBF are going to allow a unification anyway. I know in most cases they do trump mandatories, but just the way that the IBF are talking, it's up to them whether they allow it or not. If their board of whatever they're called doesn't approve a unification, then it's not going to happen. But I could see Joshua not worrying about Wilder for a little while. Maybe late next year, if he did get hold of the belts, get a couple of mandatories out of the way, get a bit more confidence up after a tough fight, because I think a fight against Ruiz, even if he comes out on top, is going to be a tough fight. But as a fan, being selfish, I would love to say, well, let's just get the unification on. But then there's also the problem. Wilder has a contract signed to fight Fury on February 22nd, so you can't just throw a contract out the window for a unification unless it's got something in the contract about a possible unification.
Yeah, I think what you'll see is if AJ beats Ruiz, he'll have to have his unification against Pulev. Wilder will fight Fury, and then if they both get through that, there's no excuse that they don't fight each other.
Yeah, no more marinating, so someone takes a loss and wrecks it up.
Yeah, it's game
when
on.
When is there never an excuse from the BBC side?
Yeah. Well, it was funny. I read an article about the big offer that Dan's made to Wilder, the $100+ million. It was for 3 fights, 2 against AJ and 1 against Brazil, and he turned it down. Yeah. And apparently Wilder, his justification for turning it down was that Dan's would not tell him how much what AJ was getting, and he wanted a 50-50 split, and because they wouldn't tell him what AJ was getting, he didn't know if he was going to get a 50-50 split, so he walked away.
Does it really matter when you're getting more than $100 million?
I know, but that was his reason. That was his reasoning. Now he may fight the rest of his career and never make that money
altogether.
I don't think he will.
Yeah,
I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I don't think he will make that money. Who's he going to make that money from?
That's right. And then when you hear these LDBC guys say, "Oh, AJ ducked him," and it's like, no, AJ did not duck him, because there's no way that Dan's would have gone to Wilder and offered him $100+ million with 2 fights against AJ without AJ knowing about it and agreeing to it. They would have already worked out AJ's financials. He would have said, "Yes, I'm happy, green light." And then they would have gone and talked to Deontay. And Deontay turned it down because he couldn't reach terms with Dan's. So there's no way that AJ ducked him. AJ did not walk away from that deal. Deontay did.
Well, you know,
One-
there's always going to be the
100.
argument that AJ ducked the 50 million. If he did, well, guess what? Deontay ducked the 15 million. He ducked the 12 million. He ducked the 100 million. He ducked the 80 million, and he ducked the 120 million.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, man.
It's a whole circle of quackers.
That's a lot. That's a lot of ducking for one man to do.
Yeah,
Well, I don't really buy into either side of it. You know, I
Yeah,
personally thought that both teams would like to have marinated the fight and made it bigger so everybody can make more money. But heavyweight boxing, man, one punch.
Well, if a man offers you X amount for your services, X amount, and that is far and beyond your market value, how could that be a duck?
No, good point.
I don't see it. A man offers you far and beyond, offers you a figure of X, which you should call X, which is far and beyond your market value. Then, yeah, I think that speaks volumes.
and the thing with Deontay is that the thing that amazed me about it, it's like you're 34, you've had hand injuries, you know, you've had a lot of injuries, you're not 24. So when someone says to you, hey, look, at the time he would have been about 33, say, hey, look, man, I'm going to offer you $120 million for you know, whatever, 3 fights.
3 fights.
Why wouldn't you take that, knowing that you're injury prone, knowing that you don't have a whole lot of years left in your prime?
And you're guaranteed that money, whatever
And
happens.
you're guaranteed that money. And one of the fights is an easy fight.
Yeah.
You know, one of the fights is easy, mate. You just got to fight Brazil. You
You had me
know?
thinking which one for a second. You had me thinking which one for a
You
second.
smoke Brazil. And then you've got these 2 AJ fights. It's unbelievable to me that he didn't sign it, eh?
But let us not forget. Let us not forget that initially, Wilder wobbled. From the PBC's perspective, Wilder wobbled because he came out with the statement. It was videoed as well, so you could see his tone, you could see his expression. He came out with a statement. Well, you know, I've got a family. I've got 2 households, you know, to feed. I got to look after my family. I got to secure my family. So that sounded as if he was for the 100 million, the 120 million. That sounded like as if it was for. And then they went into a phase with a meeting. They set up a meeting to discuss the matter. But, you know, let us not forget that there was a period, I do not forget that there was a period where Wilder appeared to be open and amenable to the offer. And then they had the meeting, and that's the meeting that you spoke about, where they asked about the 50-50. So I'm of the belief that there was a period where Wilder looked at it and said, I can't turn this money down. And then, you know, they must have brought out the big guns. Heyman must have come down from his ivory tower. Must have spoke with Finkel. Finkel, Heyman got together, and who else ever, and spoke to Wilder, and then went into the meeting. Asked about the 50%. What's 100%? What's the 50%? And I think they persuaded Wilder that he was being shafted. So we need to walk away from this. Bearing in mind that the PBC, it is in the PBC's interest with their television deals to keep all of their champions in-house.
Yeah.
If they lose Wilder as a champion, they lose Wilder as a champion, then their leverage with their TV deals and TV deals going forwards, their leverage is severely impaired.
Well, we've just got a gap here. I'd just like to talk about one comment in particular. Oasis One here has said 2 more fights and Fury versus Wilder will make $200 million. What's that based on?
Fury v Wilder. 2 more fights for who?
I don't know. He just says 2 more fights. I assume he means
Okay.
Wilder
So
2 more fights, and then Wilder versus Fury makes $200 million.
So I think he's saying that if they both have 2 more fights before they fight each other, before Wilder and Fury fight each other, then they make $200 million in one fight. Is that the gist?
I guess so. I still can't see it.
That's some very. You'd have to show your workings, Oasis. Show your workings, my man. Like they say in the maths exams. Show your workings.
Do you guys think AJ's a 100% coward?
No.
Mark Wunderlich says AJ's a Dr. Wilder. He's a coward.
Oh,
You get into-
Wilder ducked AJ as well. He's a coward.
Yeah. Do you get into professional boxing when you're a coward? You know what I mean?
That's the wrong game for a coward. It's a wrong, to someone to get punched hit in the face.
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah, I'd have to disagree with the chap, with the fella.
Yeah.
Mate, you're getting into a professional boxing ring knowing every fight could be your last one. You're going to lose your life. You're standing in there alone with nobody to help you. That's not something a coward does.
No.
Certainly not.
No. And, these people saying boxers are cowards, I'm not saying just AJ's a coward, but anybody saying any boxer is a coward. I'd love to see you step in there and fight the guy that you're calling a coward. We'll see who cowers then.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Show
some
respect.
Yeah. You can say you don't like the fighter. You can say that you think fighter X is better than fighter Z or Z. But the coward thing, that's kind of cowardly. It's kind of cowardly.
It's a harsh word.
It's cowardly in itself. Cowardly in itself.
Yep.
Here we
It's
go.
a harsh word.
Here we go, Oasis. February 22nd, $100 million fight. Then there is a trilogy. I still can't see $100 million for the February fight either. To be honest,
I need to see the maths on that Oasis one. I need to see the maths on that, my friend.
I can. What was it? Fury made around. What was it? 4 million.
4 mil.
And Wilder made around 8, but with all the kickbacks, I think it was like 6 million and 10 million. So $16 million combined for the fight. And you're trying to tell me that the next one's going to be 100 million? That's more than 1,000, well, almost 1,000% increase. That's ridiculous, man. Ridiculous.
Damn, that's a good investment right there.
I mean,
I should have got shares.
I'll be impressed if they make 50 million on this next fight.
Yeah.
I think that's a realistic goal to reach for the guys, one guy take 15 to 20 million and the other guy gets the rest. But shit, they might even be pushing for 50. Might be more.
Well,
like 30.
what was the combined pot for the first fight?
Tops would have been 17 million. Tops 16 or 17.
So if you double up on anything, that's extraordinarily good. If you double up on an investment, that's extraordinarily good. If you double up your income, that's extraordinarily good.
Yeah, for sure.
So now we're talking about 34 mil tops.
Yeah,
if they double.
I think that's realistic, and pushing 50, that's impressive.
Well, 50 is like 3 times.
Yeah.
So that's now what 75% increase.
Yeah, I'll be impressed
Which
with
I
that.
say. Yeah, 75% increase. That's trebling up.
Yeah.
I think a usually ambitious person would look to double up.
Push the gate and TV money, and you have 100 million. Wow. Okay.
That's what 4 times as much. That's 4 times. So you're quadrupling your money now. So now we're going into Fantasy Island. It's Fantasy Island. We've just taken a boat. We've taken a rowboat. No engine. Yeah. And you're rowing over to Fantasy Island.
Do you mind not typing in caps all the time, Oasis? It's like you're yelling at us, mate. If you want to yell, you can just click the link and come and talk to us.
Hit the link, Oasis. Hit the link. Yeah, you've got a lot of ambitious plans, my friend. Oasis One, hit that link and come and share the Ambitious Talk live.
Yeah.
We're not saying you're wrong. We're
No,
just disagreeing. We're just disagreeing. You know, everybody's got his right to his own opinion. You've got an interesting one. Hit the link. Come share it live, bro.
Yeah. And even if we disagree, what we're trying to do here is understand your opinion.
Yeah,
You know, we're not saying you're wrong. We're just trying to understand it.
yeah.
See, I was talking to some guys this morning, man, and the pay-per-view for Wilder in the States against Ortiz is $75.
That's
Man.
pretty much standard for US.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
worked out in New Zealand where $34.95. They're doing it on Sky, and so that would work out US. It's about $24.
And that's getting close to what pay-per-views in the UK is usually between 19 and £25, aren't they?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Right,
Pretty much
right.
standard 20 pounds. 20 pounds.
They charge the Americans a lot, eh? God, the public over there, jeez.
Terrible.
Yeah, a lot of people buy it too. Man, paying that much for a pay-per-view would have to have all world championship fights on the card for me to pay that much for it.
Oh, mate, the most I've ever paid in New Zealand was the $60 for Parker Ruiz.
Yeah.
That's the most I've ever paid, and I hated paying it.
What's the usual? How many dollars? $30. $30.
$34.95.
It's pretty much
Okay.
standard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Parker, they usually do $49.95.
Yeah.
And they host us for the Ruiz Parker one. That was $60. But normally $34.95 for anything else.
How many pounds in 10 New Zealand dollars?
That'd be about
45 or something
50.
like that?
Yeah, but we must be paying about £68. No, $34.95 New Zealand would be about £17, I think.
Okay. So you're paying the same as similar to us.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Slightly
give or take.
less.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slightly less. Yeah. Yeah. The 70 that $70 works out at what? Probably 35 pounds.
Yep.
35, 40 pounds. So yeah, that's steep.
Yeah, man.
That is steep.
But I don't know. I would have thought the way things are with boxing in America that they might try dropping the pay-per-view down some to try and boost the numbers of buys,
Yeah, man.
and then maybe try and gradually bring it back up when the audience grows considerably. But no, they're just keeping it up there, and sometimes they have pay-per-views at $100. I think Conor McGregor and
Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather, I think that was $100.
Well, we have to look at the pay-per-view model and how it came about. The pay-per-view model came about for extremely special fights. So Thriller in Manila, Rumble in the Jungle, Thriller in Manila. That's how pay-per-view in boxing came about, for extremely special, significant fights. And then in that era, when was that? In the 70s? Yeah, in that era, the 70s, 80s, tailing off in the 90s, you had the best fighting the best, regardless of governing body. So the pay-per-view model started in those days when the best were fighting the best. In days like today, when that is no longer so much the case, then the PPV model is totally outmoded.
Totally.
See here, Vader D says in America they charge extra for high definition as well.
Yeah, that's right.
$10.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So the pay-per-views, I think the standard over there for non-HD is like $65. The 75s for the HD. But
HD. And you got to pay $10 extra for the 4K.
yeah. Here's Oasis again. 1 million pay-per-view buys at $80 is 80 million. That's a fact for sure. Wilder versus Fury the first time around did 324,000, and 250,000 pay-per-view buys is breaking even. So there you go.
Yeah.
They'll probably do 500,000 buys. The next fight, there will be some anticipation for the next fight. It will probably do more buys,
Oh, it will be. It will do more for sure.
Half a bell,
yeah.
maybe, you think?
Yeah. Oh, I think they might get close to 500,000, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the hype show got 2.5 million views, but that's on subscription-based TV, being Showtime. So there's definitely the interest there. If they don't get 2.5 million buys, does that mean 2 million people are stealing the fight? Probably.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And is that due to it being $75? Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Highly probable. Highly probable.
Yeah, right.
I think they could
So
do a hell of a
this-
lot better out of it. Maybe if they dropped it down to even $50,
Yeah.
they might be surprised and holy moly, we got 1.5 million buys. So
Yeah. You see, even if they halved it and got double the amount of viewership, there's still benefits in double the amount of viewerships in double the amount of homes.
yeah. And it only makes it better for the next pay-per-view. I mean, they won't lose
Definitely.
anything if they half the price and double the numbers, but the next pay-per-view is where it's gonna draw
Yeah.
more audience and make more
Yeah,
money.
because now you've got double the amount of people who are willing to pay.
And they're
and
all
double the
telling
amount
their
of people.
mates, "Oh,
Yeah,
look,
yeah,
the
exactly.
pay-per-views have gone down. You should buy the next one."
Yeah. So now you're looking into the area of really quadrupling, really 4 times up, when you halve it, have double the amount of it, then the viewership can divide like cells, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And while we're on this, I'll be interested to see what comes up in the chat about this. What do y'all think of Tyson Fury getting the mandatory position without fighting a final eliminator? What do you reckon?
Is that the WBC? Was that the WBC?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible because didn't they say to Dillian White he had to fight Ortiz or someone to get it? Or Brazil
No.
or something?
Not this time around.
Oh, they did
They did
ages
say
ago.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did say that
That was
originally.
for the second mandatory spot behind Dominic Brazil, who incidentally fought a final eliminator against a guy who couldn't win. Even if he did win, he doesn't get the mandatory position. So yet
Yeah.
another illegitimate eliminator.
And who was also on a drug ban in the UK.
He was. He'd only been on it a month, but he was banned in the UK.
Yeah.
This mandatory stuff from the WBC is getting on my goat. How can you mandate a fight that's already signed and sealed? I order you to
Yeah.
fight him, even though you're already going to fight him.
They're so corrupted. It's they're
So
shameless, eh? They're
It's shameless. Bloody shameless.
Yeah, man.
Bloody shameless. I think my take on that situation is as follows. Okay, so they know the fight's going to take place. Theoretically, we believe the fight's going to take place. It's contractually, Fury and Wilder are contractually obligated to face each other on February 22nd or thereabouts. Whenever, the soonest point at which Fury is fit. I would imagine that's how the contract would read. Okay, so they're contractually obliged to fight each other in the first quarter of next year, first or second. Okay, fine, within that time. Okay, fine. The WBC know this. Fine. So now they slap a mandate on it. Right, it's mandatory. Right, they have the fight. That basically, for me, is the WBC trying to kill. Well, they're doing a couple of things. One thing they're trying to do is they're trying to kill the talk of Deontay Wilder only facing a mandatory every couple of years. Okay, because facing a mandatory next year, that kind of helps his ratio, as in mandatories per year as a champ. That's one. Two, keeping Dillian White at bay. Keeping him at bay. Oh, sorry, it cuts off this 600 days thing. It cuts off the 600 days thing because they're saying he's not a mandatory this year, so you got to stop the clock. You got to stop the clock on the 600 days, which is probably about 700 days now. So you stop the clock on that. This next 356 days don't count. And then we can start the clock from whenever, next year.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the fans consistently talking about Deontay Wilder faces a mandatory once every 2.5 years has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But for me, installing mandatories that haven't got that position according to the WBC rules, which states a mandatory challenger must be determined by a final eliminator. Installing a mandatory that hasn't done what's required to be considered a legitimate mandatory doesn't mean anything. It just says that you're putting somebody in there to fulfill your champion's mandatory schedule. Nothing more, nothing less. Whether the mandatory is legitimate or not seems to make no difference to the WBC. So
it guarantees the fight, though. See Fury being mandatory now, that means that they can eventually order Fury versus Wilder. It can go to purses, and then ESPN and Fox can both bid. If Tyson Fury wasn't made mandatory, then he would get a 50-50 split, but Deontay Wilder would still control the terms. They couldn't go to purse bid.
Oh, is a good point. But
that's why it's being made like that.
Are the splits not already determined in the contract?
Well, the WBC, they did order the fight after the rematch with a 50-50 split, but Tyson Fury never took that. He never took that option. So I don't know if they've signed. He's saying they've already signed for February, but it just means it locks it down. They've already agreed TV networks then. Surely Fox or ESPN will have that on pay-per-view. It just means that the WBC are guaranteeing that fight happens. Tyson, it means that I think, but Dillian White's still able to fight.
Oh, of course. But it's only his status that's suspended, not him from fighting, eh? But carry on.
But he doesn't. So he holds the interim belt now. Daniel Dubois is going to be fighting for the silver belt.
Yes. Oh, that's also on the line with that Fujimoto fight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have they not cancelled the interim belt? Have they not cancelled the interim belt? The WBC?
The mandatory and interim status is provisionally suspended, is the correct terms.
Right.
Well, you know what's going to happen to Dillian White then, don't you? Dillian White's going to be re-ranked. He doesn't hold the silver belt, doesn't hold any belt then, so they could actually move Dillian White down the rankings. They could re-rank him at number 5 or 6. He doesn't hold any WBC belts. His next fight won't be a WBC sanctioned belt if he doesn't hold any of their silverware.
I dare say Dillian's not going to be paying any WBC sanctioning fees anyway, just out of being pissed off. But you do make a good point there, Double A, about forcing the fight with Wilder and Fury. Like you said last time, they mandated him to fight Wilder in an immediate rematch, but there's nothing to say that he has to take the fight. Now he's got a contract in place already. There's no way out for him. If he doesn't,
I think,
they have power over him, and that's what they wanted. But that doesn't excuse the fact that they've put him in there without fighting a final eliminator. It's still not a legitimate mandatory, is it?
Nah, you can't. I'm trying to think the last time when somebody just got elevated to fight for a belt. And it's different in the smaller weights. Obviously, the smaller weights, people can just...
Huey Fury, Joseph Parker. He got given mandatory.
Yep, that was because David Haye. Remember what happened? This is the other thing. David Haye was a WBA regular champion. Got beat off the super champion. Retired. Came back, and the WBO automatically gave him a chance to fight.
Yep, that was with Frank Warren's influence, wasn't it? They just gave it to him. He didn't want it. So Fury got given it.
Yep, David Haye ended up going and fighting Bellew. So the WBO was the last pit. The WBO win was that 2 years? Was that 2 years ago they did that?
I think it was. Might have been 3. No, it was early 2017, yeah.
There is precedence for it. But my thing is Dillian White. What's going to happen to Dillian White? Because if Dillian White, he can't fight under the WBC because he doesn't hold a belt, and they're not going to push for him to fight for. He's not going to fight for an international belt.
Has he got a ranking? Oh, he's number 1 with the WBC. Has he got a ranking anywhere else? I don't know if he does. Give me a second here. Nothing with the WBA.
WBO, he should be right with the WBO, should they know? He holds the WBO international belt.
They dropped him out of the IBF rankings because he lost that purse bid, then bailed on a fight against Pulev, was it? No? Yeah, it was.
Pulev. Yeah,
It was
Pulev.
And what do we got? Joseph Parker 6. Oh, sorry, Dubois 6. Junior Farr. Neufeld. Oh, Michael Hunter 8. This is the WBO. Evgeny Romanov. Tom Schwartz. Carlos Takam. Frank Sanchez. Ajit Cabiel. Dempsey McKean. No Dillian White in the WBO either.
So the next time Dillian White fights, Dillian White could lose all rankings right across the board if the WBC drop him.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I guess if this is a big if Dillian White gets cleared by UCAD, that doesn't necessarily mean the WBC are going to clear him, because they're apparently running their independent investigation even though they have no information. But if they end up clearing him and he still gets dropped out of the rankings, he's going to be kind of in a situation like Dominic Brazil was. He's going to be mandatory, but not be the top contender in their rankings. Might not even be in their rankings full stop.
Yeah, that's why they won't drop him.
But
That's why I don't think they drop him, because it's going to make a mockery of the mandatory situation if they've got a mandatory who isn't in their top 10.
True that. Wow. What a mess.
What a mess.
The WBC do have a ruling though, that is, but like say you pass Nevada but you get caught with like another test, if they're sanctioning that fight, they are supposed to know. So I think when it all comes out, they could actually give that as a no contest. That could still go down as a no contest with Rivas.
Yeah, well, I think Rivas is kind of sitting around waiting and seeing what the outcome's going to be, because he definitely thinks he's got a possibility of that being a no contest and an immediate rematch being ordered. Oh man, that's a mess.
It's a mess.
I'm still trying to find out off the WBA. I've sent them a few messages now, a few emails, and a couple of threatening emails, some nice ones and some horrible ones. But if you beat somebody who's ranked in the WBA, how can you not claim? How do you not be ranked by the WBA? I've never seen it before. Tyson Fury has beat Otto Wallin, who I checked was number 4, and Otto Wallin's still in the top 10, but Tyson Fury's not been ranked by the WBA.
And then you rank. Well, the rankings should have
He's
come
not
out since that last fight, surely.
Yeah.
Did Tyson Fury not pay any WBA sanctioning fees? Is that the excuse they'll use? Probably. He's not under any kind of suspension still from them, is he?
No,
No.
don't think so. Maybe he is. Maybe we just don't know. But I wondered if it was fun, because if you beat somebody in the top 5 in a sanctioning body, it usually gets you in the top 15 at least.
At least, yeah.
At least.
Just try and Google Tyson Fury WBA ranking. See if anything comes up about a suspension.
Well, I got to jump off, Jono. I'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for turning up, Marla. Much appreciated. Always a pleasure, brother. Take it easy.
No worries,
Take care.
mate. See you
Take
later.
care,
See you guys. Sweet.
Take care, mate.
I think all the sanctioning bodies they've all got every one of them within a year. Like the WBO, there you go. You just have to say about the promoting Hughie Fury and getting Parker a shot, getting David Hay a shot, but the IBF, like the whole thing with Canelo, like that IBF belt in the at 160, like where that's been in the last 18 months is crazy. They stripped that off of Triple G. Then they ordered Jacobs to fight Derevenchenko. Then Canelo fought Jacobs and they ordered him to fight Derevenchenko, and because he never, then they took the belt and then ordered Triple G Derevenchenko. That's unheard of. I've never seen such carry on with a belt in my life. You win a belt and you have to automatically fight a mandatory who was the person who got beat for the vacant belt less than 12 months ago. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine in the heavyweight of say, of just say like Joshua Ruiz. If Joshua beat Ruiz and he didn't defend it within 6 months against a mandatory, they dropped the belt and then they gave Ruiz a shot to fight for it. He lost, and then they still gave Ruiz a third chance. That would be. I've never heard it. I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. And the WBC with this franchise belt, like.
Yeah.
The WBO. WBO's got a global championship as well. They've got a global. Daniel Dubois, the heavyweight global championship of the WBO. Like,
yeah. They keep, well, like I was saying right back at the start of the stream, all of the governing bodies have their bits and pieces that they make stuff ups with. The WBA makes up these belts, but at least the people who hold them have to defend them and can lose them. But, you know, every governing body for me has stuff that they do every year that doesn't seem right, seems stupid, seems corrupt. But for me at this stage, the WBC is doing lots of stuff.
The WBC takes the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They take
the whole thing with Loma. Has anybody actually seen Loma's team talking about the franchise champion? Has anybody actually watched interviews?
No.
Top Rank. Top Rank. Have you watched the WBC convention that was in Mexico a few weeks ago? After it, Top Rank came out and said that they actually asked the WBC to make Loma franchise champion.
Yeah, well, I was going through that interview that I was talking about earlier with Mauricio Solomon on Boxing Social, and he says that to become a franchise champion, they have to petition for it. But they're only talking about somebody petitioning for it when Lomachenko became franchise champion. For me, it seems like this franchise champion designation, not a champion, not a title, has been created specifically for Canelo, because he didn't want to do what he would, didn't want to follow the rules and face his mandatories and want to jump between weight divisions and whatnot. But then the next guy who wants to become a franchise champion had to petition for it. That's the way I see it. But
yeah, oh no, I totally agree. But like people are saying about like the franchise champion, but I think that they made Canelo franchise champion. Canelo was holding belts, and was he holding belts in 3 weight classes at the time, wasn't he?
2 at the
at least 2.
Yeah, it might have been 2, but
2. Right, yeah, it was. No, he had 3 belts, but didn't he? He had
2
had
at
a few
160
belts, so,
and 1 at 168.
Yeah. So I think, and then he was moving to 175.
Yeah.
Does that mean that if he goes back down to 160, he can ask for a title shot? That's what I want to know. That should be the question.
Only against the WBC holder, though. Charlo.
Well, that would be what the belt was for, then, isn't it? As long as you're a champion, you get up that belt. A champion in recess, apart from you're no injured, you're moving up weight. It's crazy. I can see the logic behind it. The logic is if Canelo goes up, fights at 175, goes back down to 160, and wants to come back to 160, he was the champion who gave up his belt. He should automatically. So he'll move down and just become mandatory.
No, but he can't earn the belt again, though.
That's a point that we haven't really got into. I don't know whether he can.
Nobody knows that. Nobody's asking these questions like you're saying there. Nobody knows if he can say, all right, I want to fight for that 160 belt now.
Yeah, well,
that's what the franchise champion was created for. So you don't have to fight. He doesn't need to fight at 160, but he's still the 160 champion.
Well, I saw the interview. Was it with Boxing Social?
Yeah.
Where if he goes down to any weight in the WBC, he is not the belt holder.
But he can be mandated to fight the champion, though.
He can be mandated to fight the champion, but he is not the belt holder.
No, that's right.
So if he beats Charlo, he is not the belt holder.
Oh, if he beats Charlo, he can hold the belt then. Well, this is what I'm assuming, because Solomon did say that Loma can fight Haney.
Okay.
So if he's gonna fight Haney, surely the real WBC belt would be the prize for it.
Basically, Haney can't fight Loma, but Loma can fight Haney.
That's it.
Haney can't ask to fight Loma, and Charlo can't ask to fight Canelo, but Canelo can ask to fight Charlo, and Loma can ask to fight Haney if they want to fight for the WBC belt.
Yeah.
But
That was my understanding.
I thought there was some discrepancy about, does he become the champion of that division if he beats the champion? Because he's already the franchise champion.
Yeah, that's the question that nobody seems to have asked Solomon. Can he hold the franchise championship belt and the WBC belt at the same time? And I was assuming when they took the belt off Loma that he couldn't hold them both because his mandatory in Devin Haney hadn't been ordered. So why would he vacate the belt?
Yeah.
You know, why can't he hang on to his belt until he's been mandated to fight as mandatory? So,
you see, that's a great point. That's the great point, because if he gets stripped of the belt by becoming franchise champion, how does he then win the belt back if he can't hold the belt?
yeah, this is the question for Mauricio Solomon, and I have a sneaking suspicion he won't be able to answer it because he's gone and dumped these fighters into this designation position without having any rules or people knowing what's going to happen when such and such fights such and such. He doesn't even know. He's making it up as he goes.
If you can be champion of a division, then why be stripped of that division's championship title when you become franchise?
Yeah. Makes no sense, eh?
Makes no sense.
Not 2 cents, not 1 cent, no pennies to rub together here, man.
It's a belt. It's creating a belt it's not even elevating somebody, because you're not elevating anybody because he's still going to fight for other governing bodies.
All it's elevating you to is above the rule book. Otherwise, it's a demotion because they took the real title off you.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a demotion.
Yeah.
Oh, it's well a demotion because the only, like, when Loma goes to fight now, Loma's not going to fight. The WBC will not sanction that fight because you can't sanction a belt that can't be lost in the ring. So that even though that belt's on the ring, it will not be sanctioned by the WBC. Loma will just carry that belt into the ring and leave with the belt even if it loses. But the WBO, they'll be sanctioning the fight. So it's like, instead of you saying, all right, you keep the belt and then you fight for all the belts and we'll get a cut of that pie, you're basically letting Canelo and Loma go.
Yep.
They don't pay sanctioning fees on a belt. That I don't think you pay sanctioning fees on the franchise belt.
Why would you? You can't take the belt off me, so I'm not going to pay you sanctioning fees.
Maybe that's when the belt gets stripped when you don't pay some kind of fees. There's got to be some kind of fees, one would imagine. Or else what's the benefit?
I know how they could get stripped. Go out on the town, make a scene, get drunk, smack some people over, end up in jail. They'll no longer be a franchise champion, guaranteed.
Do you really think they'd strip Canelo of that thing?
Wow, Mauricio says Canelo has some obligations, social obligations inside and outside of the ring to represent the LBC, WBC.
At least two mandated functions per year is the agreement.
And one of the conditions is they have to fight the best fights. They're not.
That's right.
This is all about getting the best fights and not making the champions fight their mandatories because the mandatories are no good.
It's funny as hell. It's mad. Utter madness.
Yeah.
It's weird though, but boxing's always been like this. As long as you've got more than one promoter, you're always going to never have the fights you want.
Yeah. It's just something that you got to deal with in boxing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's only sport that doesn't have a governing body. We have 4 governing bodies, which is just says it all. But you've got 4 governing bodies, and each have got their own set of rules.
Yeah.
Which they don't adhere to.
I got a question here from L Dog. Do you think Lomachenko is pound for pound best fighter today? And I'll get to the second part of the question in a minute. No, I don't think Loma's the pound for pound best at the moment. As much as I don't like to say it, I've got Canelo as pound for pound best at the moment. Recently being champion of 3 different divisions. He's fought some big names. There's always asterisks by his fights, but technically for me he's probably pound for pound at the moment. And the second part of the question was also, do you think Loma beats Teofimo, Comey, Tank and Haney? I'm not sure, to be honest. I think he beats Haney, particularly judging by Haney's performance over the weekend. I think he beats Tank as well. I think Tank's all mouth. Well, not all mouth. I mean, obviously he can fight to a degree, but I think he's got a bigger mouth and he's got a bigger a boxing game. Teofimo, unproven to a degree so far, so I'm not sure about that one, but I think the winner of Comey and Lopez is definitely the next fight for Loma, and that will give us an idea. I think Loma probably beats them both, but a performance from Teofimo against Comey, and if he pulls off the win, we might see a bit more than we've seen from Lopez yet. Comey's a bloody good fighter as well. I think he's probably going to beat Teofimo, but I don't know. You guys want to give some commentary on that question? First pound for pound fighter, and does Loma beat those guys? You want to kick it off, Rafi?
Yeah, I'll go first. So the first part, is Lomachenko the best pound for pound fighter alive? I think that's Canelo with asterisks. So pound for pound, number one is Canelo with asterisks. So that's the first part. Second part, do you think he beats Teofimo, Comey, Tank, and Haney? Well, I think he beats Haney. So I don't know what Haney's in a rush for. In a rush for a beating. He needs to relax. Tank, yes, I also believe he beats Tank, primarily due to Tank not fighting the best opposition out there. If Tank was fighting the best opposition out there and winning, then I might feel differently, but that's not what Tank's doing. And Tank blowing up into a tank in between fights, I don't think helps at all. Is he living the life in between fights? By his weight, I suspect not. So there's a couple of reasons, a few reasons why I don't think Tank beats Loma. Teofimo and Comey. Yeah, Teofimo, yeah. Comey is a good fighter. Does he beat Loma? I think it's a tall order, but nothing is impossible. I just have Loma as the favourites for all of those fights you mentioned.
Sweet. You want to have a go at that, Double A? Where's he gone? Oh, he's still there?
Yeah. No, I've not got Loma pound for pound. I've got Usyk. I'm going to keep Usyk there, but I've got a change of heart on Usyk as well. I really think he's going to struggle at heavyweight.
Yeah, is that judging by his last performance there?
Not just that. I was thinking his boxing ability. Like, he's had hard fights. Like, people forget. Like, he's had a few close fights as well. He's not went in there and outboxed everybody he's fought. Like, people are taking that one Gassiev fight as that's the way he's won every fight. He's had a few close fights, and I just think when he moves up in weight, they cruiserweights, like, it's easy popping the jab off and moving around the cruiserweights, but when you come up to heavyweight, I think his size is going to play a part. He's no massive. He's no Tyson Fury. He's no 6'8". He is a small heavyweight, and he's a boxer. And a small boxer, if you've got the reach and you've got some kind of advantage on the jab, then it's good. But he's going to have the same arms as a puncher. So to me, it's worrying. It's warning signs. If he was a puncher, I'd feel more comfortable. If he was a big puncher moving up, than I would as a boxer now. At first I thought his boxing skills would be enough, but I think he might struggle. I think he's just too small. If he was 2 inches bigger and his reach was a bit bigger, then I think he'd be able to keep them at a jab. But I don't think you can keep somebody at a jab who's got bigger arms than you. And a lot of these punchers will get inside on him. Canelo is another one. People, if you've got Canelo at number 1, you can't complain. As long as you've not got the likes of fucking Crawford or that at number 1, then it's all good. Pound for pound as well. I don't agree on a pound for pound top 10. You should have one pound for pound fighter. I don't get why you would make a top 10 a pound for pound.
Yep, fair enough.
And Loma, I think he'd need a break, but he could probably beat them all within a week.
Yeah.
Like, I think he could go through that. I think he could beat Tank. Well, he'd beat Tank based on Devin Haney's performance last night. He would give him a schooling. I think Comey would be the best fight.
You could be right there. You could definitely be right. Unless Tank pulls out some surprises. But
Teofimo seems to, he's got the mouth, he's got the confidence, and he thinks he's got the ability. So if he can go in there and beat Comey, then he's got the best chance. But that's a massive ask for him.
Yep, definitely. I could agree with all of that, man. Pound for pound, so subjective too. You know, a lot of it comes down to preference. So it is what it is. But I'm not going to argue with anybody who gives a pound for pound that's realistic. Pound for pound fighter. I think Crawford's up there. I don't think Spencer's faced enough competition to be into the consideration. You know, even Pacquiao's still relevant when it comes to pound for pound.
But when do you base that on the Pacquiao? How far back do you go for Pacquiao? Because you've got to base pound for pound on like the last 2 or 3 years, haven't you?
Well, I guess if you put it that way, he's probably dropping down a list somewhat. But you know, there's a lot of fighters that get disregarded, like Inoue with his recent elevation. So you don't often see guys considering the tiny weights, and realistically that's what pound for pound's for, to compare everybody with everybody by heavyweights. I don't know, man. Anybody who says Sean Porter's pound for pound king, no, you're a joker.
Oh.
You know, that sort of thing gets on my goat.
I've heard all sorts. I've heard fucking, you know yourself. You hear people putting Wilder pops up in top 10s of people all the time. You're like, you can't put a heavyweight in, because you can't compare his punch to anybody else's, because he's already got the punch.
Exactly.
So that's why the reason you don't put heavyweights in is because you know they are big punchers.
Yeah.
And it kind of comes, well, maybe not so much. This is the other thing as well. Do you base it on power? Do you base it on knockouts? Do you base it on the aggression? Do you base it on the boxing abilities? Because you can have 2 total different top 10s, depending on what kind of fighter you like.
Well, you know, pound for pound was created for Sugar Ray Robinson, right? To compare him to other fighters. So if you really want to know what you should be basing your pound for pound on, Google it. It's not that hard to find out what the actual criteria are supposed to be, rather than leaving everything up to opinion. I just think he's pound for pound because I look at him and he passes my eye test as the best in the world. That doesn't correlate with the criteria of pound for pound. So
yeah. And also the pound for pound best don't have to be your favorite fighters.
No, that's right. Leave your heart aside. Make a logical decision.
No, and I mean that people in the pound for pound ratings, they don't have to be. You don't have to like them. They don't have to be one of your favorite fighters.
No, that's right.
Yeah, so it's nothing to do with who you like or who you don't like.
No.
That's why Floyd was king for so long with it. they liked him.
Yeah. You know, one of the criteria is supposed to be skill. And I don't care what anybody says, power is not a skill. A skill is something that you develop with time. Power is something that you're either born with or not. Simple as that. You can improve your power somewhat, but you've either got it or you don't. So that is that. Alright, we have been on for some time, lads, so we're coming towards the end of the show. Is there any other subjects y'all would like to bring up before we start winding it up?
No, I'm good. I'm having a nice gonna get a nice sleep now. So I'm good. I'm good with the topics we've covered since I've been on. It's all good with me.
Sweet.
All good, Donald?
You're all good?
Yep.
Alright. Well, thank you very much for joining me, lads. It's been a pleasure as usual. If you haven't already, make sure y'all get over to Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio. Go check him out. Subscribe and all that good stuff. Also, Double A Boxing and Blunts has a channel. Posts a lot of funny ass shit. So get over there, check him out and subscribe as well. Also, Tommy Tampa, who was in earlier. Subscribe. Check him out. He drops a lot of memes. And we had Marla2243 in as well. Always a pleasure having the brother in. Been a long time supporter of the channel. So, and thank you to everybody in the chat as well. Would not be the same without you. Particularly the guys who have opposing opinions. It's nice to try and understand opposing opinions without getting childish and throwing name calling and all that sort of shit going on. So that is us for today. This is Big Boys Boxing, Double A Boxing and Blunts, Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio, Tommy Temper and Marla2243, and we are out. See you. And we are gone.
Cheers.